so much for being here today. How many of you were at PreSonuSphere last year? Show of hands. Awesome. How many are new PreSonuSphere? Oh man, that's amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. This event, I just want to, for those of you that are new, I just want to give you a little history about this event. We started kind of talking about this, and it got its roots on the PreSonus forum. How many forum members do we have today? Awesome. Well, if you are a member of the forum, you know that it honestly is, in the pro audio community, in my opinion, not just because I work here, probably the coolest place to hang out and to get information and have your questions answered. And we got into a conversation with several of our forum guys and about putting on just a, we have this virtual community called the forum and the internet, and so this is an opportunity for it to not be virtual anymore, to actually be able to make relationships, to be able, for our company to be able to interface with our customers, and just celebrate music and technology. That's what it's about, simple. So we're really, really happy that you guys made the trip out here. I talked to many people that had, how many people had more than 2 connections on a plane to get here? I mean, more than 3. Anybody? Oh my God, bless your heart. Anybody, walk? Anybody? So anyway, a lot of people came a really far distance to be here, and we're really happy for that. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. We've done a couple things differently. Just so you know, behind the theater here, there's the 2 main rooms, the studio and the workshop, where we're going to be having presentations. But we also have 2 other areas I just want to tell you about that are new. The first one is on the 2nd floor. So basically, you just jump in the elevator, go to the 2nd floor, and then follow the signs. That's called the conference room. And it's a smaller room. It'll be a really great place to have a lot more one-on-one questions, interaction. It only holds about maybe 50 people or so. And so please, make your way over there today as well. And then the other space is the gallery, which is upstairs, like right here in the foyer. There's some stairs. Now that is a really cool spot because we have, how many stations, Brad? Brad? About a bunch of stations up there. 10 stations? Yeah. Okay, yeah. A bunch of stations up there with computers, with mixers. It's a chance for you to get your hands on stuff if you're not familiar with our software or our hardware. We also have several of our gurus there, so if you're having any kind of a question, a technical issue, or a question about how do I do this, or anything like that, please make your way up there. They're going to be up there kind of all day. There's going to be a few classroom-style events in there, but largely it's just going to be a place to go and have a real one-on-one kind of interaction with stuff. So again, thank you very much. We're really excited about this year's PreSonuSphere, and it looks like it's going to be about double what it was last year, so we're really stoked about that. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my boss.
He was supposed to advance this. And I can see why he didn't. Okay. Hey, good morning. Really appreciate everybody coming in, and as Rick said, this is a great event for us. We really enjoy what happened last year. Was really sort of impromptu. We didn't really know what to expect, and so many people showed up from all over the world. It was such a great event. We said this is something we just have to do on a regular basis. So I think first I need to really thank some of the people that put this together. So you can imagine an event like this really took almost all of the team that we have in PreSonus to do some aspects of it, and set it up. And then there were a bunch of other key people. You obviously know Rick and his involvement in the forums and getting people together. Ryan Kolahaus, our VP of Marketing, pulling together a lot of the different events, and then Brad Zell, there he is. Brad Zell, really pulling all of the presenters and everybody from the different parts of the group together was a great one. And then They brought in a ringer this year, Karen Dunn, who is actually, she runs all the operations for the Tech Awards, if you're familiar with them. And she came in because of the scale of this event. She came in to really help us. So I think a big hand from my point of yours to those people. So the big thing here is say, so why do we do it? You know, we enjoy meeting with the people and everything, but the big thing is we listen. You know, I think the big difference that I see in this company from a lot of the other companies that I've worked with is to really get from you what it is that you do, how you use the products. You know, what is it about things that actually improve the way you work? So we listen. You know, that's a big part of what we do. And the other part of it is that music really is who we are. You know, I'm a bass player. You know, Jim, the founder, is a great guitar player. Rick's a guitar player. You know, I'm going to bring out the management team of the company. Every one of them is a really, really serious musician. And so it's part of what we do. We're passionate about this and about, you know, the products that we do. And the big thing is, we've really taken the attitude that people don't buy products that are just boxes with knobs and buttons and whistles and bells. They buy things that solve problems. You know, they buy products that really either inspire them or create an opportunity or really solve a problem that they have. People don't tend to buy something that just because it is pretty. So we try to stay away from that. We do things that really solve problems. So if you look at our products, they have these kind of things in common. So we really try in every area, whether it's live sound, studio, all the products that we're looking at now, we're looking at the integration of hardware and software. So we're making some changes. You know, we've got Studio One, Capture, that group in Germany. We're making some changes there to be able to add additional tracks of software and to make the integration between what they're doing and what we're doing in the hardware group here even tighter together, so that everything will be even closer and more features and more benefits of the way the two work together. Also, superior workflow. And that really comes again from talking to you. So when we look at things like the mixer, there's a reason that we don't do layers and layers and layers of things. There's a reason in the mixer that everything is accessible so quickly. Because we talk to people, we talk to guys that are doing live sound every day, and they said, I need to be able to react instantly. I need to be able to get to something and not be digging for it in a UI. So where a lot of other companies, I think, have made mistakes in when they do digital, they get trapped into the idea that digital is so cool because you can build things into, you know, fewer buttons and fewer things and put it in layers so you can have more power, but it's not accessible. Same thing in a DAW. You know, software developers typically don't have the same restrictions of cost, right? So you build in a hardware product, every time you add a knob, it adds cost. Software developers don't have that problem, so they tend to just add more and more features, and they say, okay, well, let's not figure out whether they need it or not. Let's put it in there and let the user figure it out. But if you can't get to it, if you're digging through things, it affects the workflow. So when Studio One was done, it was really important to us that the workflow of the product was seamless. And then the performance at affordable price. It's a key thing. So we'll never be the cheapest company. You'll always hear us say that. We'll never be the product that just is designed to hit a certain price point and be a cheap product. We agonize over the way the products sound and the way that they work, so everything that comes out of it is a really high quality product for a low price. And it's, as I said, it's end user driven. So instead of it just being a feature that, you know, maybe one of our competitors has, or, you know, somebody that's doing, this is what people are doing to us now because we're successful, right? Is they see a product and they say, well, we could do one of those. And so you see all these people kind of shooting at the products that are doing well, and it just, to us, we look at what you're doing, not at what our competitors are doing. And intuitive, it's a big important thing too. So, you know, it's a joke in the industry, people don't read manuals, right? But to us, it's a benefit that you really don't need to read the manual. You need to be able to get up. The workflow needs to be something that you look at it. You know, in the mixer, when we were first putting them out, we'd bring people out and we'd say, look at it. They'd look at it for maybe a couple minutes, you know, and then they'd figure out the layout of it. Within about 5 to 10 minutes, they were already figuring out how to do what they had been doing. 10 to 15 minutes later, they figured out that they could do things that they could never do before. So what you were getting in the product like that was that it not only was not a barrier to entry to use the product, but it enhanced the way they work. So we really try to make things intuitive. So it's working. So, you know, some of the things that you'll see is that the last 2 years, PreSonus has been the fastest growing company in the industry. So in 2011, based on our growth in 2010, 46% growth, we were the fastest growing company in the industry. 2011, for the second year in a row, we received that award. So we were really, really proud of that. So some other ones, Inc. magazine, they put out a report every year, top 5,000 fastest growing companies in the industry. Last 2 years we've been on that. The local Baton Rouge Business Report, we've been in the top 100 private companies the last 2 years. And LSU, Jim Odom and Brian Smith, the two founders of the company, both LSU alumni, and we're in the top 100 companies from LSU. So you look at the products then, the products are doing really well. I mentioned that the Audio Box is the top selling audio interface in the industry. For about the last 18 months, it's just consistently been the highest selling product in the business. When we introduced the AB series of interfaces, we really expected that to take away from it. In fact, what happened was the Audio Box continued to increase, and the AB series just kind of took their place underneath them. So it was really, really good. Also, the Studio One has been the fastest growing DAW in the business. So we've got over 100,000 new registered users since we introduced version 2. So it's really continuing to grow, and the base of users is constantly growing. And fastest growing line of mixers. So we've shipped over 50,000 mixers to date. And the mixers that we've actually shipped to you. When we look at the number that we sold, it's not put it in a container and send it to a dealer on consignment. So we sell them and you buy them, and we really appreciate it. So when we look going forward and where we're at in the market, you know, the whole industry really has changed. You know, the way that the studio has evolved. You know, when I first got in the business, or you know, when I first started playing, you know, if you wanted to record a record, you had to go through all these hurdles. You had to get into a studio that had the equipment, had the capability. To get in there, you had to work with it. You know, get somebody to put it together for you. If you wanted to get it to the point where you wanted to master the record, you had to hire somebody else to do it. All the tools were somebody else had them. So that's all evolved. That's gone away. It's gotten better and better and faster and faster. So things like Studio One, it now gives you the ability to do all of that. So you buy an audio box for $149, and you can basically do a full record. So when I started, it was, you know, maybe $20,000, $30,000 just to get something that wasn't even that good. So it's really changing. Also, if you look at, you know, in the mixers and what we've done between the mixers and then bringing that technology into the AB series interfaces, the power of what you can do inside of the products like the Studio Live or the interfaces, it's really giving you more and more power and creative capability. So I used to do a lot of live sound, and I said, you know, the one thing that I would always wish I could have is that much dynamics, that much EQ, and the ability to recall that between settings and stuff. So within the capabilities of the hardware, it's really expanded what you can do with the things. So we look at all that, we say, put the software together, put the hardware together, it expands everything you can do. So when we looked at all the things around the mixers, right, or the interfaces, so you've got, you know, all of the different, you're familiar with the things that we've done. So from the first time that we shipped the first 16.4.2 Studio Live mixer, it came with capture at that point. That was a huge step for us to make that ability to capture a show so seamlessly integrated with it. But then since then we've added all the other things, iPad control, the iPhone control for auxes. You know, now you'll see another step forward with our integration with Smart. So all of these things kind of go together to add capability because of the technology and what it's allowing us to do. The next step is the newest thing we've added, which is Nimbit. So in April, we acquired Nimbit, and we had been working with them prior to that. So Carl Jacobson, who you'll meet if you go to those presentations. Carl is a guy I've known in the business for a long time. He was with Cakewalk for about 9 years. And so when I was at Alesis and other companies, we were working on products together and sharing technology. They had the software, we had the hardware. So we worked together to get solutions. And, you know, neither of us had the benefit of having both sides of it. So we did a lot of things together. And then when I came here, we did the first integration of Studio One with SoundCloud. We started talking about the capabilities that did, that extended what somebody could do just with the tools. Okay, so you took the things that you did in the studio, being able to produce all the way through to a finished product, all the way through the mastering, which we've included in the product, So there was always that next step of what people would do with it after that. So we started talking about adding the capability to be able to take it all the way through to marketing and publishing the product. So we got together, Billboard magazine did a really interesting write-up about it. And one of the key things that they say is that in this case, a company that built the music creation tools, PreSonus, has acquired a company that builds the tools for selling and marketing products. So it's a real different approach. If you look at, again, going back to most of the people in this industry, what they're doing is they're taking products, they're trying to come up with something that's a newer, better next feature. And it's that kind of thing where it's just adding more bells and whistles to it, but not really solving solutions. What we looked at Nimbit was the ability to take it all the way through and to really have something that took you all the way from production all the way through to being able to sell and promote the product. And for all of our customers, so churches or schools that want to be able to record any of their performances, be able to put that up onto a Facebook page, and be able to get donations or collect money from the customer or the student families and things. So right now, you'll see that we're going to talk about where Nimbit is today. It's the artist being able to get fans and be able to promote to them. We're expanding that to include venues, artists, and fans, and connect all the data together so that it's really a rich environment to allow you to help promote shows between a club and a band, be able to record the shows with capture, and then be able to put it up on the site and sell the things. So we're really expanding it. So the whole idea is that we're taking you from the creative performance, we're adding recording and production, which we did with Studio One, distribution, which we had with SoundCloud, and now the ability to promote and market it with Nimbit. So the whole point going forward is we want to expand our reach. So if you look at the areas we're in, live sound with the mixers, we want to expand that entire environment with networking, other products that expand that and allow us to do more and connect all the different pieces of the live environment together. Same in studio electronics. So we have the interfaces, we have mixers. You'll see tighter integration between those two. You'll see other products that allow you to do more control kind of things with the software. All of the creative and enabling software, continuing to expand that. iPad apps, continuing to improve on what we're doing in Capture, what we're doing in Studio One, and the integration of all those together. And then the other one, musical instruments. One of the things that we see, the holy grail of what you do in a live environment, is to get what you can get in a studio environment, the controlled environment of a studio, and do those things on a stage. So where we can put things on a stage so you can do things to get that even tighter, we'll do all of those kind of things together. So you'll see this philosophy that we have of tying all these things together, continuing to expand. As soon as the beginning of next year, you'll see a lot of this. So we really appreciate all of your interest in those things. So our brand position, PreSonus is transforming the way musicians produce, perform, promote, and publish music by improving the entire process, not just the tools. So this is, if you looked at this even 2 years ago, you'd say it was all that first part, improving the way musicians produce and perform. Now we've added all the other parts. So as we'd like to say now, it's all the way from the first riff to the release of the product. So what I want to do now is bring up some of my partners in crime. So first guy out, I'd like to bring out Jim Odom, who is our founder, president, CSO, guitar player, Bob Tudor, industry legend, CTO, well-dressed fan, a keyboard player. Rick Knockby, who you know. Rick, come on out. You guys know it best. The people that are on the forums and see Rick know that he really is the heart and soul of the company. And also a phenomenal guitar player. John Bastianelli, who is our EVP of Product Management. Also a sax player, and then me. So what we now is just open it up. We did this last year. For the people that this is your first year here, we did this last year. We just said, hey, you come all this way, you want to see the product, you want to talk to some of the presenters who are going to do incredible things. And the presenters at this one, I didn't really get into it. Some of the guys that we brought in for this event are just industry legends. I mean, I sort of gave Bob that moniker.
I know,
And he
apparently I'm
deserves it.
legendary.
Yeah. In more ways than one.
I like it.
But we're really happy also, and I think you might be here, John Stork, you may be familiar with, Walter Stork Design Group, has designed some of the best studios in the world. And we were fortunate enough, we're working on a new building, we're working on a new headquarters, so about a year from now, we should be in a new building. And we said we really need to have in that building a nice recording studio where we can go in and test products, and also a live sound room where we can listen to things that we're working on. And in our current environment, we have none of that. Some of you have been there and know that we're putting stuff on top of boxes and listening to it. So in the new facility, we really wanted to have a nice place. So we said, let's go to the best in the industry. So we've hired the Walter Stork Group to design a room for us, actually 3 rooms. And we're honored that John was able to come down, and he's going to be doing a presentation later this afternoon on studio design and building. So we're really happy that we're able to get that level of presenter. But so, any questions that you may have about what we're doing, where we're going, where you want to take it? When can you expect to see microphones and monitors? I was going to give a quick answer.
We'll let you cover that one, Jimmy.
Soon. Here, we are going, when I look at the studio or the live environments, if we can come up with something that really improves the workflow or can do something better, we'll do it. If it's just, like in the case of microphones, there are so many, it would be hard for us to think that we could do something really unique and better, although Chad thinks that we can. But monitors, we have some great ideas.
Yeah, I mean, just the second part to your question about the mics and monitors, we really tried very hard to not do what a lot of other companies have done and slap our brand on somebody else's product. You can buy a microphone today that there's 10 of them with different brand names because they're all made in the same factory. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So to Jim's point, with microphones and really with all of the products like that, we have a real desire to, if we don't have a plan to really make something life-changingly better, then we don't want to enter that space.
Or at the very least, enhance our workflow. PreSonus advantage by having a product added to our mix.
Yes. Next question? Yes, sir.
First saw you guys in NAMM this year in Nashville. Kudos on not getting rid of the analog interface. I mean, it's so important. That touch and feel is really comfortable. I was totally impressed with the riff to release concept. That's why I, weeks later, went out and bought a 2442, and I'm here. Almost ready for the second one. So can somebody talk about about the limitations with tying 2 of them together, and when you guys are going to take care of that? And there's some limitations of what I could do with the software, the connection to the computer if I'm using 2
Yeah, it depends on what mixer is connected to what mixer. You have a 2442?
Yeah.
And you're looking at connecting another one?
Yeah.
Well, there's the rub with the FireWire electronics we're using is that it has an isochronous channel, a limitation of 2 isochronous channels. So there are some, I mean, you got to look at a matrix. It's hard to give you the whole deal in 30 seconds, but there's certain conditions where if you connect 2 together, then the computer, then certain things don't work and that kind of thing. But it should be very clear on the website, and there should be a matrix, I believe, that we have under the product information page. And I can get someone to answer your question email in detail if you send an email to B2 or PreSonus.
I was looking for a date, actually.
A date? And it's not going to change. To be honest with you, what they can do today isn't going to change because there's a physical limit.
The chipset.
The chipset and the 2 mixers connected to each other have physical boundaries, and that's not going to change. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless there's a new mixer someday.
Why wouldn't that surprise us?
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
it's a limitation primarily of technology, really, you know, of the actual hardware technology. And you know, every year chipsets get better and better for the same price. It's the same thing with computers, you know. This technology is getting better and better, and then, you know, eventually.
Well, let me answer it another way. Like, there was a slide behind when you were talking. There was an Alesis ADAT and a D8B, and it's funny because he did the ADAT with Alesis, I did the D8B with Mac. And all along, up until the Studio Live, mixers didn't come anywhere near what they do now with cascading. I mean, the D8B, you could connect the aux ends, but they weren't. There weren't messages going between the two consoles, and the Studio Live is one of the best cascading devices there is. And maybe, I don't know if I'm saying we're taking it for granted, but it is pretty robust connecting two mixers together. The latency is like a millisecond, and the performance is pretty strong. Now, there's some things that you can't do, like connect two 24s together and connect to the computer. And I think...
I mean, how do you guys not see that as a serious limitation, though?
Well, because no one can even connect two mixers together besides Studio Live. So, I mean, there's always a limit at some point to where you can go when you make a product. And, you know, there's always a compromise.
Sure.
But let me tell you this, we did see it as a limitation, and we've eliminated the limitation.
The other thing, too, to answer your question, is
It's a chipset.
when we first designed the Studio Live, you couldn't change it. It wasn't in the original
That was something
concept.
we realized we could do with the software later.
Right.
Yeah, he's really good at like coming up, you know, in the morning sometimes and saying, "Hey, dude, look what I can do now."
Bobby,
You know,
Bobby walks in with an iPad controlling everything in the building. Look what I just did.
I remember it was like it was a week after the iPad shipped. It was the very first one, and I remember walking into Jim's office with a control surface that I've been playing with, and I was
Over
moving
the weekend.
Yeah, I was moving the fader up and down and the mixer down the hall. And he was like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah, I could hear the music going up and down at Scott's office.
in other words, there was
What
no
going on?
iPad even designed when we designed the first 1642, and similarly, when we designed the first 1642, we had no idea that people would want a daisy chain really, so it wasn't a part of the design. That's part of the limitation. And secondly, is when we designed that mixer, Firewire 400 was the fastest protocol to move data, you know, and control. And of course, you know, as years go by, protocols are going to change, and that's just technology.
Right. But and again, don't get me wrong, it's a great product. I'm totally committed. But it's like you've led me down a path of functionality, right?
Yeah.
I can use the iPad. I can do these things.
Yeah.
Then I get to the edge of the cliff, and it's like, sorry, you can't go any further unless you jump off and go with somebody else, which there isn't anybody else. So I'm just hoping. I was looking for the. It would seem to me that this would be a focus for you guys to overcome that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
There's like one thing we can do, okay, is that we could allow some preference where when you cascade the two mixers, it connects like only a couple of the auxes and the mix bus, and then connects like a half, I think it would be 16 channels to the computer. Yeah, we could do that, but here's the thing that's interesting about that, is that's part of what's wrong with digital products. They're too complicated, you know? And if we don't make it so you just stick two wires in the back of the mixer and then see it on the computer, and we make it so you got to turn this off and click this checkbox and go into this deep menu and turn this thing on.
Too many functions.
We won't do it.
It's like, I mean, to be honest with you, technically we could probably write around the structural limit of the number of channels that we have, but it would become a sort of a...
So what if it was all in one? Can we have 48? Can we have the 48 board?
There will be bigger mixers.
Well, I think, yeah, that's the point, is that you said there's the jumping off point, and on the technologies, that's what we face too. So, you know, there's things where we can take the technology to a certain point, but we realize that you need more inputs, you need other things that this platform is limited to. So we're looking at those kind of things as the next
what drives
platform.
us as well is like, it's not the first time, it's not the first time that we get asked this question. In fact, it's the 1,000th time, right? So you better damn well know that we are dealing with that in the next design.
Thanks, Dave.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because we have forums like this where our customers are like, hey, why didn't you do this? And we resolve it in the end.
Other questions?
I believe that. You will resolve it.
There's one here.
Yeah, Steve.
Oh.
On the question you had, because you talked about specs disappearing, changing, and things like that. Firewire seems to be leading the marketplace on that side particularly. And I'm wondering if you're looking ahead toward, I don't know, USB 3 or Thunderbolt integration or retrofitting Firewire mixers.
Good.
I'm looking at my boss.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying go ahead. Yeah.
Because this is exciting.
Yeah, actually, the most significant thing that's happened to audio in the last 10 years is Thunderbolt. And we're just getting to a point where we're seeing it become productized, part of the audio video world. Its main breakthrough is latency. Its main breakthrough is well, obviously the size of the pipe is huge, but if you have a pipe that's 10 feet tall and it still takes 10 minutes for the first drop of water to get through, that's the problem we have in audio, right? And what Thunderbolt does is it allows us to get that first drop of water through the pipe so fast, it's in microseconds. And so we're going to go from a USB in a couple of milliseconds to an interface that can be measured in microseconds. Obviously, there's other things involved like converter delay and whatnot, but it's going to change our world a little bit. All of us, and I think it's a great technology, and we've been looking at it since the day it was mentioned. Productizing things out of it is another, step. Advanced development projects have been going on in PreSonus for a number of years now related to Thunderbolt.
Question?
Well, my question kind of ties in with that. Having used both the PC interface to I have a 2442 and Mac. The Mac is head and shoulders above the PC interface. I wouldn't give you 10 cents for PC. But I do have people that are more comfortable with the PC interface. So are the issues surrounding that interface, the chipsets, is that something that can be worked out, or are you just going to leave the PC interface? I know that there are people on y'all's team. No, Thunderbolt will be available on that platform as well. Windows 8 is working with Thunderbolt. The problem with Windows 7 and Thunderbolt is when you unplug something from Thunderbolt, you have to reboot Windows for it to recognize the change in the device structure. But Windows 8 actually takes care of that. So we're committed to the PC and the Mac because it's about a half and half, right, Jim? In the market.
It's actually more PC users. And Thunderbolt it's an Intel technology. So they're not going to let that part of the world ignore it. So there's, I believe, 3 or 4 laptop platforms that already have Thunderbolt on it on the PC. And there's at least a half a dozen motherboards that are designed with Thunderbolt. So it'll be cross-platform.
You could also run a MacBook Pro running Windows 8.
That's right.
The other thing that Chris is concerned about how fast things is, y'all's going to start designing your own chipsets, so don't have to worry about all these other things. I'll fix that.
That'd be the way. One other thing about the Mac and PC, a lot of people, say, oh, Rick, I always, see you at trade shows with Macs, and you're a Mac fanboy, and all this stuff. And honestly, what I tell people is the thing that makes a PC more difficult is just the fact that there's no standard in the PC world as far as chipsets. So you have to be a little bit more careful when you're purchasing a PC, with regards to components and stuff like that. The Macs are a lot more standard. It's not that a Mac is better or worse, really. Sorry, Mac fanboys, but I've seen PCs perform amazingly, and we always have. You'll go up on the 4th floor, and you're going to see 50% Macs and 50% PCs with every mixer and our software. Go check them out. Now, the PCs are from an audio manufacturer that it's sourced with audio in mind, and that's the problem with PCs. You go to Best Buy, it's not sourced. Those components are not sourced. They're sourced with. It's supposed to work with everything. from spreadsheets to video games to, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the main issue. Frankly, a Mac is a PC. It's an Intel chipset, you know, and it runs Windows just fine. So a lot of times I just tell people that are Windows people is just buy a Mac and run Windows on it. That's what Jim Mac does, you know. So that's what I do. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mack, earlier in part of the presentation, you referred to the integration of hardware and software. Well, I'm one of your future customers that will never end up with a 24-channel board, nor will I want to record a live band at this point. But I have a pretty good selection of 2x2 boxes at home from collection that are just sitting there because the software was so laborious that I just said forget it. And I just got a USB mic plugged in the garage band right now because I can get what I want out of it. So, given that comment, when you designed your 2x2 equipment, did you do it with having in mind that maybe the experience with that is going to draw me into those bigger boards and to go on into some more automated stuff? You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
So if you heard his question, he's saying that he's bought several interfaces and hardware software combinations, and it's always been difficult to get going. An interesting statistic that we got from one of our partners, actually Guitar Center. They surveyed about 30,000 users who had bought a recording system like this for the first time. And they found out that within 90 days, over 50% of the users had either returned it, put it on a shelf and weren't using it, or just given up on it. So it's that thing where the hurdle of getting from the dream of I bought this because I wanted to record something, all the way through to actually doing it is difficult. And there's a lot of hurdles, and so we are trying to streamline that as much as possible. So you have issues like the box itself, and then installing the drivers so that it works properly, and then getting the application run and connecting the inputs to the outputs, those kind of things. And I think we've done a pretty good job to this point in taking Studio One and our interfaces to make them as plug and play as possible, and the software to know which interface you've connected, so that that part of connecting the inputs and outputs and everything is pretty much done for you. So we try to make it so that that hurdle of just getting audio through it is not that difficult. Now you still have other things like adding effects and other things to it. And I think if you get a chance to see, have you seen Studio One yet? Okay. So there are a lot of people in the audience who used it. One of the things that we went for is a lot of drag and drop interface to make that easier and more intuitive. But I'll say this, we put together a package we call the AudioBox Studio. And the goal of that was to have everything in one box to make it as simple as possible. And our marketing guys will tell you they wanted the starting guide to be 2 or 3 pages. And even with as easy as we can make it, it's still way too long. So we see that as something that there's still a lot of work to do. But it's our goal, for sure. And one of the things like we've said with adding Nimbit to it, right? So we would like to take it, so we want to do a contest and say, when you buy an interface for $150, you get all of the software, you get a free Nimbit account. What we want to do is say, record a song and put one song up on a Nimbit page, right? And if we get people just to go through that process, it's not so much, we want you to experience the whole thing, we want you to see what you can do with it. But if we get people that far, we've taken that 50% that didn't use it up to, maybe 60, 70, 80% will actually get something out of it. And that's what we're trying to take it.
Hello.
Oh, sorry.
Arnaud from audiocomputers.com. I'm French, so excuse my English. In my home studio, Studio One killed my own Cubase. I would to know if you plan to release a window killer app. What about a broadcast? Because it's all about music, but
Yeah, you saw the 4 slides Jim showed on the company's strategic direction, maybe.
What's the question?
Well, yeah, restate the question.
Yeah. No, he's saying there seems to be a music focus and not a broadcast focus. Is that
Yeah, the
kind of what you're
range
saying?
of what we're doing with Studio One. So, if I understand, he's looking for something that has more advanced broadcast features. Correct? Yeah, I think our focus right now really is on music production, but we do see an opportunity. If you look at all these areas, we're in a real unique kind of place, I think, where we're not at the very top of the pyramid of users, but we're definitely not at the bottom. You know, we want to extend both ways. So I think the goal would be to have products that do extend up and extend down and you know, address both. Yeah, it's interesting the range of the questions. So we're talking about making it easier for somebody to get involved and bring them up through it, but we also want to extend the upper end of it and the capability there. The development team that we have in Hamburg is really the group that did Nuendo. So Wolfgang Kunders, who is one of the founders of the software group, was the father of that product. We've just added another engineer that was his partner in developing it. It was a gentleman that was with Steinberg for many years. And what we've done now is we've set up the group over there to have more development tracks so we can do more of these kind of things. And the other aspect of it is that the interaction between that group and things like what Bob's group is doing here with all of the hardware, there needs to be much tighter work between that. So it really requires that there's, here's the other part, we don't want 3 or 4 different ranges of applications that don't talk to each other. So we want everything to be really tightly integrated even within the software world. So it just is, it'll take us some time to get all of those things in place, but we definitely see the opportunity.
Maybe covered in one of the later workshops, but is there going to be direct integration with RTA mic on the new boards, or?
Well, we are so glad that you asked. So, two things that are interesting about PreSonuSphere, and we want to make this a regular thing. You guys that are Studio Live owners are going to get to see the new version of Universal Control 1.7, which is about a month away from being released. We didn't want to do that at a trade show. We didn't want to do that in press releases. We wanted you to see it first. So you will get to see, plug in a measurement mic into your talkback input of your current Studio Live, and the phase 2 of smart integration. You'll also see some new features of Studio One 2.5 in one of the seminars. So you Studio One users are going to see brand new features that nobody else has seen as well. And so, yeah, so to answer your question, it's here. Come by and check it out.
As much as we talked about, solving problems in the next generation, right? We're investing continually in the existing generation. You'll see improvements to the existing line of mixers on a regular basis. We're not just skipping over them going to a new generation. But there are some limits like the chipset that we have trouble going around. But smart is an example of, I think, what it takes. I'm going to try. He threw the wrap it up line on. So. No, but I think that what makes a great mixer company is the love and care and the ongoing support and development that you put into the design. I think it's one thing to put out a mixer and then just sell it and forget about it. If you look at what we've done in the last 3 years, we've continually, on a regular basis, put new things. QMix didn't exist, the iPad didn't exist, Smart didn't exist. We actually have new DSP capabilities in the mixers that didn't exist, new filters, cascading, all this stuff came after, graphic equalizers, all this stuff came after the fact when we originally shipped them. We'll continue to invest our research and development in the existing line of mixers to make them better for you. You'll see some of that today.
If you guys have any other questions, please feel free. We're here. We're part of this with you. Grab one of us and ask us anything you want. So thank you very much, and off to the first session.